call this meeting this morning to order. Let's start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Commissioner Evans to start us with that, please. It's all rise.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I am the United States and for which stands one nation indivisible with liberty and justice.
Thank you for doing that. Let's see, 2 items of housekeeping. Please, as a respect to yourselves, to your fellow man next to you, to all of us here, turn off your cell phones, pages, and pacemakers. Okay, we have no turn off.
Lou's got to keep his pacemaker on.
And also, when you're speaking or presenting, addressing the commission, please speak to the mic. We have sensitive mics. We need to make sure to pick up your voices, the record. You state your name, your rank, and your serial number, so we'll have them know who this is. Okay? Now we'll start introduction of the commission first and the next. Let's start from the left, please. Start your name and then your area of the responsibility.
I'm Rhonda Miller, and I represent Region 1, most beautiful part of the state. I'm a bit biased. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Natalie Goffner. I represent Region 2, Willow, Salt Lake, and Summit counties. And in Region 2, we will be Taylor Night in concert.
I'll be there.
I'm not a lie. I don't have anything that was planned tonight. I am a commissioner at large, and my home is in Cedar City.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luke Kramer. I live in downtown Salt Lake City, and I think the entire state is gorgeous. Vineyard.
Thanks, Lou. Jim Evans, welcome to the region I represent. We're here in your region. We're excited to be here today in Region 3, which, for those that don't know, goes from here all the way out to where Kevin lives out there, this middle kind of swath of the state. And so it's great to be here. And I guess I represent a region that's got a lot of vibrant economic development going on. And we're just going to keep that happening here to help support not only us, but the whole state, even up north.
Commissioner Kevin Tassel, I'm a at-large member of the committee. I live in Utah and drive a lot of Utah highways and companies.
Thank you. My name is Nagi Zanadi. I'm coming from St. George, Utah, bringing greetings and gratitude from our mayors, county commissioners, and city managers for UDOT and commission for affording them so much wonderful opportunities down south. Thank you all. Carlos, UDOT family, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Carlos Maceros, the Executive Director of the Southern Department of Transportation. And would you like us to do the full, would you like us to do the full UDOT introduction? Harry and Lisa.
Terry Newell, Deputy Director, Planning and Investment. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations.
Why don't you start? We'll get back and forth again.
Rob White, I'm the Region 3 Director. Rob White, Region 1 Director. Chris Peterson, Project Development Director. Troy Peterson, Operations Director.
Ed Hewitt, Program Development Director.
Stephanie Tomlin, Central Planning. Andrea Olson, Planning Director.
Rick Torres, Region 4 Director.
Bob Helen, State Coordinator.
Lake Elder, Deputy Director of Policy.
Brent
Potter, UDOT Communications.
Leanne Noble, Technology Innovation.
Fort Lee, Technology Innovation.
Derek Mason, Region 3 Project. And Parker, Region 3 Program Manager.
Andrew Ware, Region 3 Project Manager.
Jeff Day, Region 3 Communication Manager. Eric Rassman, Region 3 Planning Manager.
Diane McGuire with the Border Preservation Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I would like to also acknowledge and welcome our federal partners, Ivan Moreno and Richard Lindell. Thank you for being here. A beautiful day to be in this part of the country, called beautiful of the vineyard. So this is a place to be. We had the grape juice to introduce you to this morning, but unfortunately they don't have those anymore. So right at this point, we usually ask the mayor of the community to welcome us, but Mayor is out of commission, I guess. And we have Christy Welsh to represent her, please, this morning. Christy, come forward, please.
Thank you. Welcome to Vineyard. We're so grateful to have you here in our humble city offices that we're already growing out of, which is kind of the running theme of Vineyard, as I'm sure you've become aware, is we're growing so rapidly. So welcome to our rapidly growing city. Did you want me to speak for a few minutes about Vineyard? Great. So thank you for coming on a tour yesterday. You were able to see some of the outskirts of our city and where we're having our downtown being built, and UVU is coming. These huge steps for us. This morning, we were able to drive through what we've been working on, all our nice communities and homes and where all of our citizens live. Clearly, our next steps are going to be that big dirt pile that you guys have been seeing out there. And our challenges, of course, are ironically our motto, which is stay connected. So as being a connected community, which is our motto, our problems have to do with connectivity, which is between our downtown and UVU, and that amazing Frontrunner has to come through the middle of our town, which is amazing and gives us so many opportunities, but also the challenge of connectivity between our downtown and UVU, or our residents and our theater and all of the economic sides on things going on that side of the city. And so those are the challenges that are hopefully clear to you as you saw our city, and where we could use some help in the future. And we're just so grateful to have you here. We're grateful for all you have done for Vineyard. As we've grown last 10 years, we needed so much help. We're so grateful to you. And on a wider level, thank you for all you do for the state of Utah. Vineyard is awesome, and I'm passionate about Vineyard, but we can't be a great community without all the communities being great. We need Orem and Linden and Salt Lake and Cedar City and Summit County. I love Summit County. All these places. St. George, of course, is my favorite, right? When we all grow well, we grow well together. And so thank you for all you've done for the state and for all of us. And welcome to Vineyard.
Thank you, Christy.
By the way, was this one of your Christy? Joel did this.
Oh, yes, I forgot. I have a present for you. Our V is for Vineyard book. We made that to give out to our residents. There's some funny things in there. You'll notice we got a bug issue, and some of those letters address those issues. But it's been a fun thing to give out to the community, and Mayor Fulmer was a huge catalyst to starting a children's library in our old city offices, and this has raised some funds for that children's library, so you can enjoy that.
Thank you. We'll give our love to Mayor Fulmer. Hopefully she will feel good soon. Thank you. Again, this is a beautiful, beautiful part of the state. We have a great opportunity, and thank you for Region 3 for giving us the opportunity, providing the transportation and lunch. Thank you for that. To see the challenges and issues that they're facing. So hopefully, next item of the agenda is a local area presentation. Rob is going to tell us what has been done and what needs to be done still. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here with you again, and it was great to have the time yesterday. We appreciate you coming and spending that time with us. You probably got a sense of the relationship that we have with the folks here in Vineyard, and it's been that way since day one that I got here. And Mayor Fulmer's been a pleasure to work with, and we just have a really good working relationship, and we have fun carrying out the work. And hopefully you got a sense of that yesterday. This morning, we're going to give you some details on the projects that we have going on in this area. And you saw some of those yesterday. We'll follow up with some more information in today's presentation. I've got 3 of my staff is going to address you. They're working intimately in these projects, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have. And if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to interject those. So you'll hear today from Andrew Gwynn, who was on the tour yesterday, as well as Eric Mason, and then Eric Radin will address us, and then I'll close the presentation. So I'll hand it over to him.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, as Rob mentioned, we're going to highlight a few of the projects. Most of these are ones we saw yesterday. So I'm Andrew Glenn. I'm Region 3 Project Manager. You want to go to the next slide? So the first project that we're going to highlight is the UTA Frontrunner station, the double tracking that we looked at yesterday. So this project was a partnership between UTA and UDOT to construct the new Vineyard Connector station in the Vineyard Town Center. Part of that project was to construct the new station, and then part of it was extending a section of double tracking a little bit further north from Vineyard. You can see that in that red section on the map is where the double tracking was. We kind of saw that yesterday as it extended from 1600 north. They're still working on that section. They're done with the double track portion by the end of November. And the station's on track to finish in time for UTA's change day in April. That's when we'll open the station. And the change day is UTA only adjusts their schedules 3 times per year. They can't change the bus schedules constantly. They've got to go through a public comment period and there's all the publication stuff that needs to happen on those. So they've got to put those on a specific day. So the April change day is when we're planning to open that station and start having trains run through there and pick passengers up. And yeah, they're currently working on the platform. We saw some of that work going on yesterday as well. The next project we're going to highlight is the Vineyard Connector project. This is kind of in that same vicinity as the Frontrunner station. This will extend the current Vineyard Connector from Main Street up to 1600 north. Years ago, we built the first phase from Geneva Road out Main Street. And now with the town center development, it's important to make that connectivity up to 1600 north, provide that access up to 1600. It will connect in as well. We talked a little bit about the city project that's extending 1600 north out to the west to 2000 west. So it'll provide better east-west access as well into Vineyard City. We are in the very early stages of design. We just had a kickoff meeting this last Wednesday. So we're getting into that. We ran into some unknowns on the last project with this being on the old Henderson Geneva Steel or the Geneva Steel site. So we ran into some unknowns. Like I said, we're going to do our best to identify those unknowns, some geotech issues with the water table and the soil types out here. This one does have the pedestrian undercrossing that crosses under Vineyard Connector, and we'll kind of connect that network. It's important to Vineyard City. We'll have active transportation along the corridor as well. We are working, as was mentioned yesterday, with the city on a potential upsizing of that box crossing for the pedestrians. Currently, we've got a 10 by 12 box size identified, 10 foot by 12 foot. We're working with the city to identify the potential to make that bigger and more inviting to pedestrians that want to use that area. Our next project is the Vineyard Rail Consolidation. So this one is the one that we talked about where if we realign the existing UP spur line to the section in orange. So the orange would be the new proposed alignment, and Vineyard City worked with a developer as far back as 2006 to kind of preserve that corridor, knowing that the track removal along Geneva Road is going to become very important for the economic development for the city. This project would eliminate first move the track up to the orange section, and then we would be able to eliminate all of the track along Geneva Road in the dark blue along that section. So that's very important. As was mentioned yesterday, the economic development, it helps provide better east-west access into the city. As we talked about yesterday, our tentative dates for construction right now is to start the construction of the spur in the summer of 2024. That's obviously pending UP approvals and getting through the UP process and addressing all their comments. So that kind of leads us into the next project, which is the intersection improvements that we talked about at 1600, 800, and 400. So we're seeing significant backups and delays at each of these intersections. 400 North currently doesn't have the west leg constructed either, and being able to eliminate that track and those crossings helps be able to construct those improvements, improve the signals in the intersections at 800 North and 1600 North, install the signal at 400 North, And also, as we mentioned yesterday, that enables Orem City to do some improvements on Center Street between I-15 and Geneva Road as well, where they're having some bottleneck congestion as well that leads into Vineyard and kind of into the western portion of Orem.
Question, Andrew.
Yep.
When you move those railroad steels, do you sell it back to UP or to Geneva Steel? Which one?
So we will just, as far as I know on this one, Vineyard City, UP will remove all the track themselves. So I think that was part of the agreement, that one of the agreements we talked about yesterday. So I think they'll salvage that steel themselves. I don't know if they'll reuse it or how they'll use it, but UP is actually responsible for all of the removal once we finish the spur line. The next project, the Geneva Road one that we discussed, this one runs from University Parkway in Orem down to 1800 South in front of the new LDS Temple site. As was mentioned, we just recently started design on this one as well. This was a House Bill 433 project that was funded by the legislative session in this past session. We've just started the environmental reevaluation. They're just starting some of the surveys that they have to do. They have to look at multiple different things for that environmental process: socioeconomics, noise, air quality. They could tell you better than me exactly all the items that they have to evaluate, but we've just started that process again. We're targeting the middle of next year to wrap that up, kind of the May-June timeframe, and design will be ongoing at the same time as environmental, but there's some process things that we can't finalize the design until we have that cleared environmental. So we're looking at completing the final design by the end of next year, and then constructing. We're anticipating one construction season in the summer of 2023. We mentioned this yesterday as well. The Orem Temple is currently tentatively scheduled to open at the end of 22 or early 23. If we do get into something where we need to coordinate with them and figure out timing of their open house with our construction, we'll definitely do that, and we'll make sure that coordination is taking place. And then the last project that I have is the US 189 Viaduct, right near the UTA Frontrunner station and their current end of line for the Frontrunner. This structure is coming up on its end of service life. It was constructed in 1966. It's had multiple rehabilitations and improvements done throughout to make sure that it continues to be serviceable. We had a concept study done in 2018 with our structures group that have identified some preliminary concepts and ideas of how to best construct. We are using that concept study. We're also in the process right now of finalizing a traffic study with one of our consultant groups that will help us to know what sizing we need to have here and how we can plan for future needs, and rather than get into this structure again in 15 years to expand, that we take care of those needs now. We're anticipating that we'll have the final information on that in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll move forward into the environmental phase, figure out exactly what we need to do environmentally on this project, and we'll jump into kind of the railroad coordination and some of that early work as well at that point, and then get into the more heavy railroad coordination design in 2023. And right now we're tentatively anticipating a construction that would start in summer 2024. One of the big considerations on this one that we know is important is the MOT phase and the maintenance of traffic as we do the construction. This is the main corridor. It's the only grade separated crossing currently into downtown Provo. Each of the other ones at 200 West and 500 West have to cross the tracks. So we know that maintenance of traffic is going to be a big deal, and figuring out the best way to handle that and to keep as much traffic moving through there is going to be important. So we're kind of in the early stages of evaluating that as well. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Eric Mason for a few additional projects.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good morning. I'm Eric Mason, Region 3 Project Manager. I have 3 projects to talk about today. Next slide, please. So the first one is the US 89 State Street and American Fork and Pleasant Road project. This project's located, it starts in Pleasant Road at 220 South near the new railroad overpass, then extends to American Fork and ends at 100 East. the main purpose of the project is to remove the 5-lane choke point that exists through here. So currently there's two through lanes in each direction. The section you see in the slide here is the final configuration. So 3 lanes in each direction, a 2-way left turn lane, and buffered bike lanes on either shoulder. We'll have a nice wide 5-foot bike lane, both shoulders buffered by a 3-foot strip. And then on the south side, continuous 6-foot sidewalk. Currently, there's a lot of gaps in the sidewalk. Pedestrians have to walk the road or walk down the railroad alignment. So that'll be a big improvement for pedestrians. There are 5 major intersections in the corridor shown at the bottom of the slide. We'll be significantly improving those with new turn lanes, new traffic signals. And then at 7th East, North County Boulevard and 1300 West, we'll be incorporating railroad crossing improvements with those intersection improvements. Going on there. So one of the main reasons this project is needed, one of the main benefits is it is the only alternative to I-15 through this region of the corridor. So if there's an incident or congestion, all the traffic diverts to this section. So usually if I-15 is congested, this gets congested. So all these new lanes, the widening should help everything flow better throughout the entire region. As far as schedule, we're finished with the design. The right-of-way is mostly acquired. We have a few parcels still hanging out on the right-of-way. We'll be relocating utilities in the next couple of months, and then the commission approved funding to go to construct, enough funding to get us through construction, and we'll begin that in spring of 23 and have it done in about 2 years from now. So it's a little bit of a long time coming. So next slide. The next project is the Pleasant Grove Interchange Area Improvements Environmental Study. So I-15 in this area, in the Pleasant Grove Boulevard interchange area, is the most congested section of I-15 in Region 3. This is also in the top 5 Ocean's priority list. Not only is there congestion, there's a lot of, as you saw in the tour yesterday, there's a lot of green space, a lot of open fields, prime for development in this area. So not only do we have a current congestion problem, we expect it to get exacerbated by the development. Our environmental study is looking at both those short-term and long-term issues and trying to develop some solutions, long-term solutions to deal with that. We're about through this study right now. We've identified our environmental resources that have expertise. We're ready to enter the environmental documentation. That'll be done in about a year now, fall 22. One of the key things that come out of that study is a preferred build alternative. So hopefully we have a project identified and cost it out for you in about a year. Next. The final project for me today is the Pleasant Grove Boulevard and North County Boulevard intersection improvement project. This is a major choke point for the region. A couple of years ago, the commission approved transportation solutions to address this location. As you can see on the slide, this is the final configuration of the intersection. It's a really big intersection. We have dual lefts on so the north-south leg is North County Boulevard, east-west is Pleasant Grove Boulevard. The north leg has dual lefts, the east leg has dual lefts. The west and south legs have triple lefts. And then the north leg also has dual lefts heading southbound. Just off, not shown on the slide, is the I-15 northbound interchange. So we'll widen all the way from this intersection over to that northbound interchange and have 2 right turn lanes onto that northbound on-ramp. One of the main things that should help the flow of traffic through here is the improved pavement markings and signing. You can see some of the pavement markings there. It's kind of tough to zoom in, but we'll get interstate shields on the ground, lots of turn arrows, only north-south arrows, some overhead signing. So as motorists approach the intersection, they'll be in the right lane. One of the big issues with this intersection is lane utilization. So you'll see one left turn lane's full, the other one empty. So we're hoping and we expect that all these improvements should get more balance in those lanes.
That's because you either have to take your chance or get on the current left of those 2 lanes and then speed up and try to get in front of all. So I mean, that these 3 lanes will help, and then having the 2, I'm big concern and you just address it, is the 2 lanes going north on the freeway. Right now you've got the lanes trying to go to 1. So I think that'll be as much of a help as those left turn lanes.
Yeah, Commissioner, that's exactly right. And we looked at this extensively, modeled it. It's particularly that south leg going west to the freeway. And in that center lane, you can actually go north, south, or through without changing lane. So you have an option. You don't have to get in someone else's lane. You just kind of get a choice as you approach traffic. And so it should work really well. Yeah. First, schedule design is we have extensive right-of-way acquisitions, all commercial, so that can be a little tricky. But if it goes as expected, we should begin construction this spring and have it done next fall. That's all from me. So I'll turn the time over to Eric Rasband. Thank you.
Thank you, Mason.
Hello, Eric Rasband, Region 3 Planning Manager. Thanks for the opportunity to come and visit. 1600 North has been on the Regional Transportation Plan at least back as far as 1992, and that was as far back as we could find a plan for it. In November of 2019, the Commission approved the jurisdictional transfer from Orem and Linden City to UDOT, and this last legislative session, we received some additional funding through HB 33 for this project. We have hired a consultant team to start the environmental work. We've had our kickoff meetings. We actually have the agency and public meetings scheduled for 2 weeks from now. And so we're looking forward to working with the community. Some of the challenges that we have on this project are Orem City had done some previous work, planning work, and had identified some options. And they went through their process, but they didn't go through the environmental process that the department is required to go through. And so we're going to be working with the community to fully understand, help them understand why we're starting over and why we're doing the processes that we're doing. And then we'll identify some solutions, and we plan to work towards right away and design in 2023 with construction in 2024.
So
yeah.
Hopefully by you going back to view that, I know that Mountain has been working with you on, some preliminary, some homes that they try to acquire, but still, we need to do the environmental study. And so hopefully that all still works together. I know, so that preliminary is going to happen.
Yeah, Mountain Land Association of Governments through their corridor preservation funds identified $3 million for Orem City. That purchased about 10 homes along that corridor. We have also been working with some of the property owners with Diane McGuire that have identified some hardships, and we'll take advantage of those properties, but we'll let the process drive what the final solution is at the end of the day. So with that, I'll turn time back over to Rob Clayton.
Thank you, Eric.
For those of you that have been around for a while, you probably remember when American Fork Canyon was a ski, little beautiful place that nobody knew about, and it was awesome to go out there. You'd have the whole place to yourself. You could have your choice of which trail you'd go on, and you could go to Tibble Fork, and the only people there would be trailers with toys that they brought up there. But it's not that way now. About 6 years ago, because of the growing traffic and challenges in the canyon, Region 3 put together a working group that included the Forest Service that runs most of the canyon, the U.S. Park Service that runs the Timpanogos Trail cave site, and some of the other, the cities that surround it, the water groups, the users that have infrastructure up in the canyon, and as well as a group of citizens that have an interest in that canyon and love that canyon. So the desire was to be able to manage traffic at a higher level and improve the flow and safety. One of the things that we realized early on in those discussions was that there wasn't really the ability to gather and share information because cell service that didn't exist up in that canyon, and there was no fiber to even for the park service from their Tim Cave site to communicate effectively. So, we started to identify these needs in this working group, and we got Lynn Yoakum involved. You guys all know Lynn, and she was able to put some mutually beneficial trades in place with telecom companies that helped us expand fiber up into that canyon. And I'm told, I haven't tested this myself, but I'm told that cell service has started for AT&T users, and very shortly, if not already, for T-Mobile and Verizon. Is that correct? No. Okay. It's not already working, it will be shortly. But and the work to install that was planned with a city water line that went up the canyon, and some pavement rehab that we needed to do. And it really was a great partnership amongst all of these entities that came together to make all these improvements work. The Forest Service moved their toll booth. If you remember, it used to be in the middle. Every car would stop and it would just back up forever. They've moved that to the side. They're putting information out, letting people know that you don't have to stop at the toll booth if you're going to certain destinations or if you have passes. And just the whole canyon works so much better. And now we have the opportunity to put infrastructure in place to, since when trailheads full, we put that action out. We're going to start working on those plans now that we have fiber optics up into that canyon. So this was a real success story. And a great example of collaboration. So I want to make sure that you know about that. And that's just those cell towers are coming online now. So the next time you drive up that canyon, you should be able to make calls out, which is a significant safety improvement because emergency services get called into this canyon quite frequently, especially for the trail to go out to Tim. So,
Rob, congratulations on this. I haven't driven that lately, but I've had 2 or 3 people say to me, why don't we have one day one direction, one day the other direction, just to avoid, has that been a consideration?
That's the first time I've heard that suggestion.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why you have a commission.
We'll go digest that one.
That's an idea. I mean, it just seems like a thoughtful approach given the increased traffic that's out there. Well, let's make it a little safer. Of course, that has its challenges too, but
that probably would have been good a couple weekends ago when everyone was up looking at the leaves. It was bumper to bumper for the entire way from the mouth of the canyon all the way to the other side in Provo Canyon.
It's so popular.
Incredible the amount of traffic that's in this canyon now. So,
idea.
I wanted to mention. This concludes the presentation, but I wanted to mention also, we've been working with Commissioner Evans and Mayor out in Eagle Mountain on developing some information to let folks know what the planning efforts have been in northwestern Utah County. So the growth is explosive out in Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs and Lehigh. And sometimes some of the feedback that we get through social media, the folks don't seem to understand what the vision is and what the plan is, and we've done the work to coordinate all those projects out there. And so we put a video together to explain that. It's not quite ready. It's really close, but not quite. We're going to send a link to the commissioners to let you view that, and then we'll get that out to the citizens soon. So anyway, thank you for this opportunity to talk to you this morning.
Congratulations. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. And I encourage the mayors of the towns and the commissioners of the communities to share these videos and these links that we have from the UDOT, all those presentation. It's a good tool for all the citizens to know that you're busy, we're busy trying to make sure that the project is getting done and challenges eliminated. It is not an easy job to do by all means. We have to have the patience and endurance of everyone. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to hear from our federal partners, and today Ivan Guerrero will have to present the next item, which is Federal Highway Administration.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I am Ivan Marrero, and I serve as the Division of Highway Administration here in Utah. And so strange being so close to you this morning. Well, thank you for giving me time on the agenda to talk about the federal items that would be of interest to the state. So thank you, Heather, for setting me up. And can I control it here? Or? Okay, so there we go. Well, last time I did the recommendation, I mentioned that our highway trust fund was balance was getting to a point where we, as an agency, felt we need to start paying attention to it. And we were thinking that by October 8th, we would be at a point where we may, it may be below that our threshold. We feel we need to start managing or implement what we call the cash management procedures. Luckily, the deposits came in from the Department of the Treasury, and they were better than we expected. So we notified the states that everything was good for the time being. We will continue to monitor the fund over the next weeks and months, and if we do start seeing it getting to that threshold again, we will notify the states that we may have to implement our cash management procedure. So far, so right now things are good. So good news. We didn't have to go there. The other thing that happened over the last month is the with the transportation bill, Surface Transportation Act expiring on the end of September. We didn't get a new act before Congress passed an extension and a continuing resolution. So for the next, they gave us an extra 30 days to continue the program going. And so we have until the end of September, maybe until October 31st, at which time we will hopefully have something in place to permanent, or if not, we'll go into an extension again, hopefully. So, but this allows us to provide the states with the funds they need for the next 30 days. So we have issued our apportionments, and these are the numbers that are coming to Utah for the different transportation programs. And then along with our apportionment come the obligation limitations, and for Utah is $28.3 million. So that's 31 days worth of funds, federal funds. Excuse me. And finally, one of the things that we do at the end of the fiscal year is the federal fiscal year is we have to approve the planning and the STIP, and the planning process and the STIP for the state of Utah. This allows those projects to continue to be funded with federal funds. Once the commission approves the STIP, then it comes to us for our review and approval. So, and our review is done with along with FTA, and it involves not only your projects, but projects from all the other MPOs in the state, WFRC, MAG, CASH, and the Dixie MPO. So all those, that whole program is reviewed by our office. We make sure that there's been proper public involvement, that the different improvement plans from the MPOs are incorporated, that the air quality, that the plans in conformance with the air quality, and that it is a fiscally constrained plan, and that Title VI dealing with the disadvantaged communities is being accounted for. So I'm happy to say that the plan was found to be in compliance with the statutes and the regulations, so it was approved by our office at the start of the month. So I do want to thank the UDA planning staff and the MPOs for all their excellent participation and assistance as we reviewed that plan. It was really helpful. And so anyway, that's all I have for you this morning. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have for me this morning.
Good job as usual.
Well, thank you, and hopefully next time I speak to you, we'll have a
Good to see you up close.
Yeah, yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for all you're doing.
And thank you, appreciate you for being always helpful. Thank you. Next item on agenda number 4 is grant update, and Ben was going to be addressing us for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Ben Hewitt, UDOT Program Development Director. I have 2 items for the grant update this month. The first item is an item that's just a status update. It's an item that's been on the list for a little bit. It's the 56 West Express Bus Project under the RAISE grant program. This is a project, a grant application that UDOT is in a partnership and supporting role with UTA on. It's tied to the Mountain View Corridor environmental document. And so our role is related to that, and we have some potential right-of-way in-kind match participation on this project, an opportunity for that. So that one, the submission deadline was in July, and I think typical timeframes are 6 to 9 months on hearing back. I've tried to pattern them, and there's not really a consistent pattern, so we're in a waiting game, but hopefully we hear good news on that one. The next grant, if you could, can you scroll down just a little bit? It's up a little bit higher. This spreadsheet's probably not the easiest thing to, right there, perfect. So this is an item that there's actually a programming request later on in the agenda for this item. It's a utility detection grant application that UDOT is wanting to pursue in the Accelerated in Deployment or AID grant program. This is a grant program that UDOT has been successful in a few times in the past. And this project is about creating data sets for utility detection during construction, maintenance, and other activities. So there will be a programming request that's a contingent request in front of the commission to do a contingent approval on this project, so that if we were to get it, we can move forward on that. Those are the only 2 items for this month, so pretty straightforward. Any questions that I can answer on grants?
Sure. So yes, just going to the requests later, we could ask, kind of get through my question at this point in time. So what that requested would be to implement this money if we receive it.
Yeah, it would be to approve the full project, including match that would come from UDOT if we got the grant.
And the match is the $250,000.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Item number 5 is UDOT scoreboard, and Chris Peterson and Troy Peterson will present us with those items.
Morning, Commissioners. It's good to be with you this morning. Chris Peterson, Project Development Director. It was even better to be with you yesterday on the bus, but we'll take the opportunities as they come, right? So this morning I want to give you a short update on the status of our project delivery. Heather's reloading the page right now. This is good. I like this. This is cool.
Give some entertainment.
Yeah. So of the 709 projects that you have approved for us, we have just 4 that are past due. In the next 60 days, expect to advertise another 39 to be exact. I was rounding for Commissioner Grant. And so our project teams have been doing an amazing job, particularly over the last month. Heather, if you'll scroll down, we're now 89% on target for advertising our projects on time. Since the first of the fiscal year, we've advertised 36 projects for $144 million. This last month, we've advertised 22, nearly $100 million. So they've been working really hard with Federal Highways with the end of their fiscal year, which is September, the end of September. And we coordinate with them as we advertise our projects to make sure that we meet their needs with their financials and our needs to get our projects out and get them out so our contractors can get working. So Heather, just scroll down just. So this chart just shows the 22 projects. As she scrolls, go a little bit further so it'll load.
it'll show you the 22 prioritized since September 1st, and they are that's estimated value of just under $99 million. So our folks have been doing an amazing job making that happen. It's been, you know, we look at the list, it's 22 projects long. That's all just $100 million. That's it. But each one of those projects, there's a significant amount of coordination, a significant amount of individual work that lots of different people have to do. And I don't want to ever under recognize the efforts of our teams to be able to deliver these programs the way that we've committed. So really pleased how that's been going, particularly over the last month. And in reality, since the pandemic started, our folks have done an amazing job. So Heather, if you want to scroll. Keep going a little further. There we go. We'll get there. There we go. So this chart represents graphically when we have or will advertise our projects. So green is a project that's been advertised. Yellow is a project that was advertised late. Red is a project that is late and hasn't advertised yet. That's the 4 that I talked about at the first meeting. And then blue are projects that are upcoming for advertisement. And so you can see that we have a big task before us. I added up the numbers just a few minutes ago. Everything in blue that you see there adds up to over $450 million that we expect to put out on the streets through the advertising process between now and the first of the fiscal year. So we've done great over the last few months. We still have a significant amount of work ahead of us, and our teams are again amazing at doing that. And it's just a great machine that is continually working to make sure that we stay up to date on target with all that you've asked us to do. So you have any questions about the number of projects or about that chart, you'll see that this is the prime time for us to be able to put the work out for the contractors so that they can build their portfolios for the upcoming year. We'll get better bids if we put them out now, as they're trying to make sure that they're ready to go and that they have plenty of work in front of them as they anticipate the coming year.
Yes, are you challenged by the shortage of supply and the labor?
Absolutely, we are. I was going to talk about that a little bit later.
All right.
It's a perfect lead into the next slide. So let's do that. So Heather, if you'll scroll up, we'll let it load.
While you're doing that, I want to congratulate you, Chris. That's so hard to coordinate all that stuff. You know, that is awesome to see it happen. Commissioner Goffin is on this, but that is a lot of boost to our economy too, to have that kind of preparation moving forward.
Just jump to the 2 key points of economic growth are investment and productivity. This hits both of those.
So if you look at this chart right here, this is the number of contracts, is the top black line that we have out, active construction contracts that we have executed with our contractors. The blue line is the amount that we paid out on those contracts. The red is how much we have remaining to pay on those. If you I'll hover over the red one, so you can see 470 or $740 million worth of work that we have under contract. This last month and a half, we've advertised another 100 that hasn't shown up on this list yet because we haven't executed contracts on all of those yet. So this number, if you'll notice, changes every single month. In fact, it changes every day. As we close a project or as we execute a new one, this will change consistently. So you asked the question about, are we having issues with material shortages and labor? Then across the board, every single project, every single contractor have talked about that's an impact to them and their ability to deliver. As I've been working with the AGC, that's the local Association of General Contractors. We work with them as an association to hear a unified voice about issues that they're finding. I asked them just the other day, what's your biggest issue with materials or is it labor? And at first they said yes, but then they said, honestly, labor is a huge issue. And it goes back to, you've been seeing the reports in the news about a shortage of truckers and the ships off the Port of Long Beach and they can't get containers off. Well, that's a significant function of the number of CDL truck drivers they have available. And there was a report I just read, I think it was a shortage of 800,000 truck drivers across the nation. each project has that issue that they have in front of us. We have that UDOT as with our maintenance staff and snowplow drivers. And there's a huge competition right now. Who can pay me more? We've had maintenance employees leave to go drive school bus. And this is across the entire economy. And so what happens is if we need to have a project where we need to excavate material and haul material in or out, we'll order up trucks from trucking companies, and we'll order up some of our large projects will order 60 trucks for a day, and maybe 30 will come. And it's kind of that way for every project. You'll order 4, you might get 1 or 2. Some projects they're staffed okay, so that project won't see a trucking issue because maybe they're using their own staff, their own trucking, or they're in a different situation than being dependent on.
Let me just say, Commissioner Goff and I yesterday were on a call with former Governor Huntsman, who's the vice chairman now, and he was in Detroit. He said, "I'm looking at my window. We got like 12,000 trucks out there that we can't get on transports to get to the dealers." So the same problem. It just
cascades. Yeah, so whether it's aggregates, whether it's asphalt, whether it's just small parts and supplies, that is impacting every single project, and we see that on our bids. And I think there's an item on your agenda here in a few minutes. We opened bids on a project. We got 2 bids. Those bids came in higher than we expected. We knew that it was somewhat of a risky project, i.e. the location, the type of work, it had concrete, it had cement, it had materials that had to be hauled long distances. And so that bid came in higher than we expected because of those specific factors associated with that project. Yesterday we opened up bids, and we had 1 bid came in just over 110%, but other bids, our estimates were just fine, and the bids were right in line with where the contractor's estimates. So to some degree, we're having a hard time predicting exactly where it's going to hit an almond truck project, but generally what we're seeing on our bread and butter paving projects, we're still doing okay with that. And partly because our asphalt, our oil, and our fuels, we have an index that the contractors don't have to bid a lot of risk in, because our index goes up, that we will pay them commensurate with an increase in the cost of asphalt or the cost of oil. So those, we're doing pretty good on those, and that's our bread and butter. It's some of these other more technical, more challenging projects where we're seeing contractors having to bid a little extra risk in it based on what we're seeing.
You have actually adjusted your percentage of your contingencies in your estimates?
We have adjusted our contingencies, and at the same time, we don't want to over adjust those as well, because we think that would be detrimental to the rest of the program if we're just putting a whole bunch of. So we're doing our best to estimate what we think it will be, and we recognize that there may be times when we have to come to the commission and say, now that we got the bid, we know the real price, and now that we know the real price, we need to add a little extra money to it. We do the same once we know the real price, and if we had too much money in it, we pull that back off through the items on the consent agenda, but we can't just add it the way we can take it off through the consent agenda. So we expect we will see more projects over the next year that we have to come back and add a little extra money to, and we historically have done so. With the market and the volatility, we see that it's going to be much harder for us to predict exactly what those costs will be.
I would say that we have no short-term fix for the amount of drivers that we need in our county. I mean, there is, I talked to a company that needs 100 drivers. They could put them to work today if they were available. And they're just not there.
It's not there. If you want a job, a decent job, and you like to drive, right, there's plenty of opportunity out there.
Natalie, from your perspective, I see nothing out there on the future that says we're going to get an influx of workers from anywhere.
Yeah, Commissioner, when you said that, I thought, do I agree? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, because it's not, normally the argument is, well, pay more and you'll have it. But that's not the reality. People would pay more. There's just not a stable labor.
Oh, and I've listened, and there's all kinds of advertisements for drivers. I mean, we see companies that are paying bonuses to hire people, and you know, the good drivers use companies are taking care of them. If they don't, they're going to lose them. We're just in a unique time that, and the workforce, particularly in the trucking industry, is getting older. Many of them are going to retire, and there's just not many coming up to fill that. So, and that's going to force the automation in trucking, and I think that's why it's moving where it's at. It's a matter of being able to deliver goods. I mean, Carlos and I participated in platooning and some of those things. All of those things will eventually come to help solve the problem, but it's not going to be for a few years.
We agree, right? And we're working with the other states across the nation. It's not a Utah thing; it's a national thing. We just filled out a survey that came through our Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, asking the same question: what do you see? What are you seeing? What are you doing? And is it across the board? And it appears that this is a national issue. Amazingly, we always seem to find a solution, and so we're not completely downhearted about it. America's an amazing place and an amazing country, and I believe we'll figure this out at some point, but it's not in the short term. Sure. One last chart I'll show you. I always like to make sure that we're aware of how we are doing paying our contractors and staying current with them. We've been fairly consistent all summer long, nearly $3 million a day in payments to our contractors. September was the same, and so we've been doing really well there. One of the things is we talk cash flow. We pride ourselves in paying our contractors within 3 days of agreed on payment. So the comptroller's office does an amazing job to make sure that once we agree that that's the payment, so we pay that as quickly as possible to make sure that cash gets into their hands, so they're not having to bankroll the work that they had to pay to get it on the road, and we want to make sure we stay current with that.
Sure. Go ahead, please. I compliment you, Don, on that. That makes a big difference. If it takes, you've completed the job and you're 30 to 60 days out from getting your check, all of a sudden you start looking at your bill and say, wait a minute, I missed this.
Or you have to finance. Yeah. You have to finance to carry that over that 60 days, and that adds to the cost. So
this is a dividend that I don't know if you can calculate how much, but it's significant dollars saved to taxpayers by being able to pay them when the work is completed. Not in 30 days, but within 3 days of that tax.
That's our goal, and sometimes it's 6, but we our comfortable is a big job processing those things. Any other further questions?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Troy Peterson, Operations Director for UDOT. I'm going to spend a little time this morning talking about our zero fatalities portion of our strategic direction. Real quickly on that, maybe it's up a little bit there. We'll go back up just a second on that fatality rate. I mentioned this a little bit last month. Our current rate is at 0.87. That's through August. We do have about a month delay as we get our vehicle mileage traveled updated monthly. So as of August 31st, our rate for fatalities is at 0.87, which is down from 2020. Remember, our vehicle miles traveled in 2020 was a lot less than what we're seeing right now. We'll go ahead and scroll up to the fatalities. So for to date, in right now, our actual fatalities were at 253. And as you remember, for our reduction, that's at 2.5% below our 3-year average. At this time of year, our target would be at 213, so we're significantly higher, right about 19% higher than what our target is showing there. And then obviously our suspected serious traffic injuries, and that one as well is also higher than our target. Same thing, target reduction there, looking at that 2.5% reduction. over our 3-year average. So right now our target is supposed to be 997, and you can see that we're 1181, which is about 18% higher than our target there. In 2020, our traffic crashes were down, but it looks like we're starting to see another increase in the amount of traffic out there, and more crashes are occurring. We're at about 41,000. This is all crashes, and our target there is up at 39,000. One thing I would like to mention and bring up this past week is our teen driver. I lost my spot here. This past week was our Teen Driving Safety Week. You may have seen that there was a little press event a little over a week ago that we brought in some families, and there was a moratorium of some victims on our roadways. And one thing I want to highlight is during that, there was 43 teenagers that we lost on our Utah roads in years of 2019 and 2020. And some of the stats that are out there that shows that teenage drivers are 3 times more likely to be involved in a crash. And some of the studies have shown that drivers who have parental monitoring in sport ways are half as likely to speed. They're 2 times more likely to wear a seatbelt, and 70% less likely to drive and drink and drive. So one thing I've got copies of the book that I'm going to give to each of you today before I leave here. It's a booklet we put together for the Teen Memoriam. There's some stories in here. There's also some statistics. Let's see if I can get that one out. They're good for opportunities to discuss saviors on the roadway. Also, our Zero Fatalities website, zerofatalities.com. There's also some additional resources there to have some conversations about promoting, having those conversations. I know my kids, every year when I bring home a copy of this, we get to have a conversation, and it's obviously a very solemn conversation when they see that. First year they saw it, like, oh, this is exciting to read it, and it's like, oh, this isn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be, because it's home real quick. So I'd encourage everyone. Also, you can find this particular pamphlet on the Zero Fatalities website as well. And so one of the things I just like to maybe take a second here and I'd like to make a reminder every time I leave here, the 5 basic safety reminders for safe driving, and as to where to drive: alert, focused, calm, and sober. So that's kind of my update today for the Zero Fatalities. If there's any questions.
It's all sober. I know. Seatbelt, alert, sober, calm, focused. I'm as focused. Please don't quiz us, but we'll get better.
I get quizzed all the time, so that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to pass these out real quick.
Yes. If I could add, I mean, having done these events with these families are remarkable. I mean, they've lost, one of their children, but they're so passionate about wanting to make sure that not happens to any other family. They're willing to put it out there and talk about the situation in a crash. Sometimes you find us focusing on the negative, don't drive drunk. And you see Troy's the way he's putting it, it's on those positive behaviors to address that instead of the families are remarkable what they're willing to do to have these conversations.
I actually used the first book that you gave us a few years ago in our family reunion, and they were just kind of impressed to see, and of course it was touching to see how many lives really gets devastated by not paying attention to driving conditions or distracted driving. So I use it as a teaching moment for my family. So it's a good thing to do. Thank you for sharing.
Hey,
item on the agenda is a public comment. We didn't have any written comments, email, but did you have anything from the anyone from the public? City officials, mayors, county commissioners, representatives. Don't be shy, the first 5 minutes, no charge. Seeing none, we move on to the next item of the agenda. It's a consent agenda, and also I think that Bob Ellie is going to be doing this. And I think that Ivan is in Hawaii.
He might have slept on the beach last night, so if he's
What it is? Well, I'm not into the motion to adjourn this meeting and then go to Hawaii.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Bob Pelly. I'm STIP coordinator. Happy to be here this morning. Got a few items to go through. Certainly want to point out this is year 2022 STIP Amendment 1. So I certainly appreciate that we're starting our new STIP cycle. And from Ivan Marrero's words this morning, we made it for one more year. Here we go again. Okay. First item 7, this is our consent agenda. So included in the consent agenda packet are the minutes for the September 16th, 2021 tour and September 17th, 2021 Utah Transportation Commission meeting, and a list of projects. The projects included in the exhibit. Is that me? Move down here. This is the minute. Through them here real quick. Get down to our items list.
Well, Bob is doing that again collectively and individually. Thank you, Heather, for the beautiful minutes, and you're so detailed and organized. Thank you. We owe this meeting to you and your detailed meetings minutes.
All the other ways she takes care of it.
Yes, indeed.
She does. Communicates all weekend with us.
All right, here's our list of returning funds. So we have 5 projects that are returning funds today. You'll see them right here. So we've got 1 on an award adjustment, 3 are budget recoveries, and 1 is a project closeout. So the amount that we're returning today is just a little over $4.3 million. These funds will be returned on the right-hand side of this spreadsheet to the program name to those programs to be.
Yes, go ahead, please. Rob, on the one where we're returning funds, by the way, it's so nice to go along that section of freeway and not to be in a lagoon ride where you go up and down. They did a great job with that. That was northbound. Do we need to still do something in that area, kind of southbound at all? Still, are we gonna? The question is, would some of these funds return of it, or do we have enough funds to fix the southbound? I know returning funds to the northbound, which is, they did a wonderful job, but I just wanted, I know there's still a little bit going south that maybe could be fixed the same way.
So you're talking about the right fix item?
Right about on the I-15 bridge where, by American Fork, where you go on, and they fix that. Quite,
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a ride. I mean, it was like a roller coaster
Keeps us
ride.
awake.
If you were on the lane closest to the sound wall, you really got to bump. I learned to get over a little bit. It wasn't as bad, but I know that's been fixed. But now we've got the southbound look. Is that something that we'll still fix there?
We're monitoring that southbound direction. It's not quite as bad as the northbound was, but it's on our radar, and we've got a prioritization process for our transportation solutions program, and we definitely want to get to it, but we don't see that as our highest priority right now. So we're just monitoring it.
It doesn't make complaints or issues there. Yeah. Throwing things out of the back of trucks and things like that.
Yeah, we heard a lot of those stories.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thanks.
All right, commissioners, we have a motion to approve the adjustments to the projects in the and they include a table and approve the September 16th, 2021 tour minutes and the September 17th, 2021 Utah Transportation Commission meeting as detailed.
I'd make that motion to be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 7. Any further questions, corrections, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item 8A1. This is the I-15 Pages Lane to Lagoon. This is an abandoned project. The purpose of the I-15 Pages to Lagoon project was to reconstruct the pavement through this segment of I-15. This reconstruction is expected to take place in a future I-15 project currently funded in FY 2026 through 2028. The proposal is to abandon the current project and reutilize the funds on the next pavement reconstruction priority. We'll pan down here. I have a map here of the location that we're speaking about. Here's our map here. So from Farmington all the way down to North Salt Lake. So the motion is to abandon the I-15 Pages Lane to Lagoon project as detailed.
I'll move to approve that change. Second.
Okay, I'll give the second to the Commissioner Love. So we have a motion and a second on item 8A-1. Any questions, concerns, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A.
Thank you. Our next item, 8A-2, is actually in the exact same location. So just, we're taking, since we have a project that's going to take care of this whole section coming up in a few years, we'd had a reconstruction project set there. We've abandoned that project, so those funds will go back to the reconstruction program. And this project is going to take care of some maintenance issues until we get to that time, our Band-Aid. So this project here is I-15 Pages Lane to Lagoon panel replacement project. This is a new project. And a recent pavement assessment has determined that this segment of I-15 needs to receive preservation treatment prior to the future I-15 project currently funded in FY 2026 through 2028. And again, since it's the exact same location, you'll see the exact same displayed right here. So our motion is to add the I-15 Pages Lane to Lagoon panel replacement project to the current STIP as detailed.
I'd make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions?
I just want to say thank you for helping to put those pieces in place. Because that's really helpful. Sometimes it's hard to look at these documents and go, wait, how does that fit? So I appreciate you putting that little puzzle piece together for us.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-2 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, and down here, is item 8A-2. 8A-3, I'm sorry. Did I come up again on it?
Yeah, I think we had a duplication.
All right, here we go. 8A-3. This is the SR 92 Center Lane extension in Highland. This is a new project. Here in Region 3, people traveling toward American Fork Canyon on SR 92 that want to turn onto Spruce Drive must turn from the eastbound through lane. The center lane currently ends just east of Manor Lane. The SR 92 Center Lane extension in Highland project will extend the center turn from Manor Lane to Spruce's Drive, allowing for safer left turns. This amendment was approved by the MAG Technical Advisory Committee, the TAC, on September 27th, 2021, and the MAG Regional Planning Council on October 7th, 2021. Drop down here for map. And you'll see on this map where it ends, blue, the next street up is where they want to turn. So this is going to be extending. Oh, there's a better picture. Sorry, one more picture down. All right. So this is the picture that you can see. The top one, you'll see where the turn lane ends short of the road, just to the right of the screen, that they were going to extend that turn lane through. So the motion on this is to approve adding the SR 92 center turn lane extension and Highland project to the current STIP as detailed.
Go ahead.
Will this actually include widening or just repainting?
I'm going to turn to our Region 3 phone a friend.
There'll be some widening associated as well, just to get not a whole lot, but just a little bit.
Does that involve property acquisitions?
No, we've got all the right of way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of an easy one.
Excellent. I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion to second that, then any more questions, concerns? Say none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-3 is approved.
Thank you. Next item, 8A-4. This is a Pleasant Grove Interchange area capacity improvements. This is adding some funds. We're going to be adding the amount of $4.16 million to this project from the Transportation Solutions Program. The project scope of the Pleasant Grove Interchange area capacity improvements project is to improve the capacity of the intersection of North County Boulevard and Pleasant Grove Boulevard and I-15 access. During the design of this project, several aspects within the project limits were identified as missed needs or enhancements to the current scope. The project scope included widening the existing pavement. However, it is determined to have all the pavement in the same life cycle rather than just the shoulders of the roadway. To accomplish this, a mill and overlay of the existing pavement is required. In addition to keeping all the pavement on the same life cycle, this approach allows for all new striping to be installed without the need for removing the old striping. The cost of this additional scope is $625,000. The project area has seen increases in property and construction costs since the project cost estimate was developed. Development in this continuing area, which has introduced new utilities in the area, increasing the design, engineering cost, and requiring additional mitigation. Two adjacent signals have been added to the scope of the project in coordination with Pleasant Grove City to address safety and access to North County Boulevard. These changes will require an additional $3.5 million. This item was approved by the Mountain Land Association of Governments Technical Advisory Committee on September 27th, 2021, and the Regional Planning Council on October 7th, 2021. I think in our region presentation this morning, Eric Mason talked about the issues in this area. Going down here, look at the map. You can see the proximity to I-15 and the issues that Eric spoke about. So the motion is to approve to add additional funding to the Pleasant Grove Interchange Area Capacity Improvements Project as detailed.
I move for approval. The growth is tremendous in this area, and this is one that we do this.
I would second that. I believe that we go through this intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last 8 years out there has been unbelievable. And so it certainly makes sense, in my opinion, to have it all at the same time period. And we're going to be enough cussing as we rebuild this project, and it'll go to wait 2 years and then do it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So I would second.
Thank you, Professor. Wasn't the Pleasant in Pleasant Grove? Is that what you're saying?
Keep the Pleasant in Pleasant Grove.
It's not going to be pleasant while this is being built.
Well, with that introduction then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8-4 is approved.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a
Yes,
question?
please.
I noted that the way that we can do this now, keep wanting to say Senator Van Tassel, is because of transportation solutions. So can we just have a reminder as to how much each region has for transportation solutions? Because I think whoever decided that was brilliant. And it was us. Is that what you're saying, Carlos?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, at our workshop, we talk about all the programs that we spend out of our transportation fund, and then once those funds are allocated, those funds, the leftover amount is the amount that's available to put into the transportation solutions program, and we divvy it up between each of the regions, and then we also have a pot that program. Our program finance or our program development group also has as well. So I think this last year was about $10 or $11 million that we were able to put in there for each of the regions.
I was thinking that was about the number.
Chairman?
Yes.
Can I add?
Yes.
Yes. Carlos Braceras. Commissioner Watt, remember yesterday we went through a little discussion on the strategic goals of the organization that are actually in statute. And we should, based on the performance measures, the results of investments such as pavement conditions, bridge conditions, safety, those are really the areas that we focus on. If we can show we have money to meet the targets for those, then we come back to the commission and make those recommendations. So that money, we're about to left over. There's never money left over, but we have to make sure that we're meeting the targets on those items, those strategic items. And then we can find money for this, very flexible program that you really came up with.
So not a fixed amount.
No, it's going to vary
every year.
It's going to vary every year.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder.
Good questions. Thank you.
Next item, A-5. This is SR 14 Woods Ranch Eastbound Passing Lane, a funding addition. Request is to add 1.2 million to this project, and they'll be coming from the region's transportation solutions. The project scope to widen the roadway and a box culvert to accommodate an additional eastbound lane on SR 14 to provide passing opportunities. The project was recently advertised and project bids received were more than estimated. Region 4 has evaluated the bids received and identified specific costs associated with supply, labor shortage on concrete, rebar, and trucking. This has increased the risk to the contractors and ultimately the cost of the project. Additionally, overall inflation has had an impact on the majority of contract items. This is what Chris spoke about on this one. Go down and take a picture or location. There we go on SR 14.
Greg, do you want to add anything on the subject? Once you're here, you travel along, so please.
Yes, so Rick Torgerson, Region 4 Director, so we opened this project a week ago Thursday, so we had two bidders. Part of our process is we don't know who those bidders are, so they're both still blinded. And we have reviewed the abstract of bids from those two and worked with Chris Peterson's shop to evaluate all those different items to come up with that list of areas that we feel like are a little bit higher than we had normally estimated. We feel like this is still a very valuable project for us to add the $1.2 million to it. This canyon section leaving Cedar City is about 17 miles long, the very top where you get to the Cedar Breaks National Monument thing area there. And we have one passing lane in the canyon, which is across the slide at about milepost 7, and it's about maybe a little less than a mile long. So we see a lot of queuing going up with trailer houses and farm equipment and those various trucks. We actually limit trucks in here as much as possible just because of the terrain with signage, but we do still get a few truck drivers that dare to go across there based off of their GPS. So this is a section as you go eastbound over the canyon that will add about a little over a mile long passing lane in a very good spot before you hit the very last section that goes up to where you look over into Zions. So we feel like this is a very, very good project. The box culvert is one of the areas that we looked. We're widening that. The current box culvert, the head walls are gone, and they're about a foot off the roadway. So we're extending that box culvert out for safety as we prepare for the passing lane. So we feel like it's still a very valuable project, and we need to kind of take advantage to add this money to the project to actually get it constructed next year.
While you have the mic, would you please also mention or update us on the bridge, 191 bridge?
The SR95 bridge east of Landing. So yeah, they're making very good progress on that. We have the drill caissons are going to be completed today or tomorrow, and then they're planning on pouring concrete tomorrow. And depending on the breaks of the concrete, we may be able to open that bridge to traffic next weekend. So we just,
If I don't help badly, you'll be.
Yeah, it's great.
You might want to be the very first one to try.
I don't know that we have the capacity to do this, but when you close the road, there's obviously a ton of disruption, and there's a cost to that. And you don't always get the chance to learn from what those costs are and everything. And I think it would be a really valuable opportunity for you to put a dollar value to what's meant to the traveling public. And economists know how to do that, right? Because they know how to estimate the value of time and the traffic that used to be there, and then what people had to do because of this, and then they put a value to that time lost. I just think it's a pretty interesting example.
We actually do that on a lot of projects. You know, that's when we determine what kind of incentive we'll give or how much we'll charge for a lane rental for a contractor. We base it on that economic analysis. So that's standard
To me,
practice.
this is like a natural experiment, like it really happened,
Yep.
instead of having to
And the
simulate it.
detour is
So
really long on this one.
Yeah, I just
to
thought
get
it's a
around.
valuable moment to learn from this moment, so that when you have a hypothetical of this, you have a real life example of what happened.
Yep, and we have had quite a few people ask why we just don't go and hurry and put a pipe culvert in and detour around this. The amount of time to get clearances we don't have the right of way for one reason, and to get the clearances to do that and actually construct it, we felt like that this method that we're doing right now to get an emergency contractor down there and put the beam on would actually be quicker.
And this is a perfect example where you could talk about the benefits and costs of doing that versus what you've done.
Yeah, I think we've already put that together. We
And
may
you're
have
able
shared
to
that,
quantify what it costs to put the diversion and then what you've lost in time because you didn't do that. I just think it's very interesting.
Yeah. We do have a website all set up. We could potentially even add some of that data to that website. That's how we're trying to use to communicate to folks. So yeah, we're hopeful that if part of the process is we're going to take concrete cylinders as they do that, and we'll let them set for 4 days and 7 days and 14 days, and we'll be breaking them. And once they get the PSI and the concrete at that strength level that we want, then we'll open up the bridge. So we'll be watching this and breaking cylinders throughout the next week to see if we get enough strength in the concrete to open the bridge up. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
because we're in Vineyard, I just have to tell everyone that this location is one of the most quoted examples of a natural experiment because of Geneva steel and air quality. And this is a location where you had a steel mill operating, and then you can look at hospital admissions for respiratory problems, and then it closed, and then it reopened. And so and it's a population that is very low in smoking and some of these things. And so this is an area in the country that's commonly referred to in air quality research because of that. So just another example of a natural experiment.
yeah, you moved way away from branding all the way back to Vineyard real quick.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
So when you crossing over that bridge, would you please take a selfie for our?
We'll send it to Carlos or Heather.
Thank you, Rick.
Any other questions on the Woods Ranch item?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, Rick, for taking the time to kind of discuss this, because when you look at the percentage increase of this project, it's easy to ask the question, should we be doing this? Should we be doing this now? And I appreciate the time that you took to explain the why of that, just as you have to us today. So I'd like to make a motion to add funds to.
Wait until Bob gets back to the podium.
Oh, sorry.
Like Rob Clayton said with American Fork Canyon, we're seeing our canyons utilized more and more. So this type of an improvement you know, for us, safety is very important to us. And when we get people where there's very few passing opportunities and you're following people for a long ways, people tend to lose focus for a split second and make a decision that could change their family's life forever. And this is an opportunity to add another passing lane in that section to hopefully stop people from making a decision that will be very detrimental for their family.
Well, this was actually a decision from our Iron County. So I appreciate the fact that we, as an entity, listen carefully to our communities to help solve problems.
Thank you, Rick. All right. Well, we have disclosure, Commissioner Law, and I myself, we use that road back and forth, and we have used it several times. So we know the location, we know the needs for that location, so yes.
And from someone that pulls a trailer around, I appreciate the fact of having a place to have people pass me, because I can only imagine what they're saying behind me. All right. The motion is to add funding to the SR 14 Woods Ranch eastbound passing lane as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to add the funding
It
for
is-
this passing lane project.
It is noted. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to second it.
Thank you for that. Motion in the second with all the explanations. If you have still questions, please ask. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item A, 8-5 is approved.
Come down to the next one here. This is one that Ben spoke of earlier during his grants update. So this is Accelerated Innovation Deployment Demonstration Grant. So this is a new project. The request is to approve the project, the new grant project, as well as the match, which will come from the statewide Transportation Solutions pot for $250,000. The AID Demonstration Grant Program provides funding as an incentive for eligible entities to accelerate the implementation and adoption of innovation in highway transportation. The AID Grant Demonstration Program is one initiative under the multifaceted Technology and Innovation Deployment Program approach, providing funding and other resources to offset the risk of trying an innovation. This grant may award any value up to the request amount. A notice of funding opportunity was released by FHWA, and the Project Development Group of UDOT would like to pursue this opportunity by establishing a project to complete the following. Number one, focus on creating a GIS utility data set populated with utility data collected during construction, maintenance, and permitting. Number two, to use GIS mobile apps and surveys to capture and verify underground utilities. Number three, share utility data securely to support program planning, development, and construction activities. Benefits of this project include reduced risk of utility hits during construction, enhanced detection, improved access quality, utility data for planning, reduced disruption to businesses and travelers, and increased coordination between utility owners and the DOT. In the event that a successful response is received, the department will evaluate the grant amount awarded, contribute the required match, identify any changes needed to the scope of the amount of funding funding award, and place the project on the same year step as the awarded funds. There's no map on this. So the motion is to approve adding the Accelerated Innovation Deployment Grant Utility Detection Project to the STEP contingent upon successful receipt of the federal grant as detailed.
Question I'd have is, how is this following right of ways just for UDOT, or are we just into the cities, counties? How far is it?
This is my friend.
What do you mean, what is the question?
So I was on my phone from a friend. Could you repeat the question?
Question is how deep is this going? Is it just UDOT right of ways, highways? Is it going to be available for cities, counties?
So right now, we're working on it on UDOT projects and UDOT technology. Nationally, this is going everywhere. And so what we're seeing is we work with the contractors and we're working with our consultants jointly. Together, we're building the technology and the ability to use it. And then that will transition in because those consultants and contractors will take that to their projects because it's becoming common business for the contractor community, the consultant community to digitize, to optimize. So it will trickle down. However, this grant specifically is what you see on UDOT. What we find is once we get the technology figured out, then it goes out to the rest of the community.
So this would be we're doing a project in the Uinta Basin, or if we're doing it down at.
Correct.
Then we'll have,
Statewide.
that'll be information that we won't accidentally cut fiber lines.
Correct. And we'll know exactly where it is. So in our planning, we can plan for it and know it beforehand. We don't even have to react to it when it's not where we. I was excited to go sit back down.
Well, this is actually really kind of a process question. I'm assuming that the importance of having this on the agenda today is that we're approving the matching, the statewide funds, so that we can apply for the grant, so that when the grant comes in, we can spend all of it.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Part of the process, we need to commit to the match.
And what
match?
Yeah, we don't want to commit to it if you don't agree, because we don't want to force you into a commitment.
Didn't we talk about this before, Chris? I've got your back.
Yeah, it is. And I got your back by not putting you into a corner. Right?
Now, Brigitte, you heard the request and pleading, so you know what. Go ahead, Bob.
All right. Let's see, did I have the motion? Motion is to approve adding the Accelerated Innovation Deployment Grant Utility Detection Project to the STIP, contingent upon successful receipt of the federal grant as detailed.
I would make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion second. Any other questions, clarifications? Saying none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8-6 is a thank you.
Thank you. These two are for information only, so there's no motion necessary.
We're excited. We can give you whatever you want.
So 8A-7, this is a cash Parkway intersection and road relocation. So this is local funds being added, $500,000. And Logan City recently requested that an existing intersection be relocated. This new signal location is approximately 500 feet east of the current intersection, 1500 west. This realignment will match the new SR30 alignment on Logan City's road master plan. So this project was approved by the Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization 9/30/2021. I'll sit down here for the picture. This picture, you'll see that the park is new road. So there's going to be removal of the current interchange, and in the future, right here, the future that will go all the way through. So this is a local government project, and it was approved by Cache MPO. So there's no motion necessary.
There's a questions from the commission.
Yes.
I'll just comment and say this is a helpful solution and it's something that will be good for this change.
Commissioner Mel, here's a park and ride there. Do I assume that the new alignment attaches to that park and ride
And I would refer to Rob.
Oh,
we have
Back picture
we
here.
have a Rob. We have
All right, Rob, like.
Stay up there if you want. We could tag team that. No, so the park and ride, there's an existing park and ride there, and yes, there will still be access to that park and ride. This is a great project, and Logan City approached us to include this as part of the SR 30 project. We did not include it as part of that project. We have a separate project for this. But when we're done here, we'll signalize that intersection, and Logan City can get their waste management facilities right there. A lot of traffic in and out, and so this will be a much better solution and a safer solution for this intersection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and our last item is.
I must say, Bob, you have a lot of friends in there.
My job is a coordinator, so I always tell people I don't do anything. I just coordinate with a lot of people. Right. This last item, 8A-8. This is I-15 slab jacking from Springville to Spanish Fork. This is information only. A new project was created out of using Transportation Solutions Funds, $200,000. And 2 locations on southbound I-15 have settled at amusement park Rydeville. And have caused large dips in the vertical alignment. This project will fix the dips by jacking the slabs and reestablishing the vertical alignment. So here's a map showing these 2 locations on I-15, milepost 259 and 258. And this is the project was approved by the deputy director authority given to in the Utah Transportation Commission policy 01-01. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I've never heard the term slapjacking. This is my first, yeah. I wondered if we could get UDOT to go do some work on the Jordan River Parkway along these lines.
They need a slapping too?
Some of this.
Stop on a road bike.
But are you gonna tell us what slapjacking is?
Well, I thought that was what I'm gleaning is that there's some separation that occurs between this, and they're gonna jack it up and make it even.
Excuse me, they drill in the pavement and they inject the material that expands, and it lifts those, puts it in alignment.
Slapjackers.
Bob doesn't use a smart jack on that.
Thank you.
And that concludes my portion. So, any questions for me?
Good job, as usual, Bob. It was so nice to see you. Item number 9 is corridor preservation, and I can see that Charles already has a podium. Welcome back.
Thank you. Is everybody able to see our budget obligation sheet okay? Do I need to zoom in a little bit?
No, we are.
I think perhaps the most important thing to note here is that we have received a reimbursement from Mountain View Corridor. This is the section from the existing southern end at the very end of Salt Lake County that will tie in to the section that currently goes from 21st North in Lehigh down to Pioneer Crossing. So that project is now fully funded and has reimbursed the Corridor Preservation Fund to the tune of just under $39 million, which is very exciting given the low balance we've experienced over the last few months. We had motor vehicle rental tag revenue of just $700,000, again, steady project managed rental revenue of $75,000 and change. We do expect that to start to decline as we begin to surplus some property off of the Highway 89 project. We've had good success getting a few underway, and there are more to come. Small amount of interest income, and then our year-end balancing, which we discussed at our last commission meeting. This is going to hit every August. This is the way the finance people manage their budget and make sure we don't overdraw any accounts. They hold back about 5% of our revenue each month, and we get it back in August. Expenses, we've had a couple of rehabilitations that we're used to. Utilities appraisals, just under $12,000, and then our balancing between the accounts that are used by the treasurer's office
had a negative, or actually a positive impact on the expense column, with total expenses adding up to just over $50,000. The balance forward is just under 54 million. Oh, I hit the wrong button, excuse me. And we have just over $9.3 million in obligated funds that we're still working through. Accounting for those, we have a fund balance of just over 44.3 million. We have one request today. If that were approved, the fund balance would be just under 42.2 million. As we did last month, we've got a new chart show our sources of income. I don't know if I can get these all on one page, but you can see our main source, the motor vehicle rental tax revenue, is a little lower this month than it was last, but you'll note last August during the pandemic was the lowest month, at least in my memory, that we've ever experienced. I think August is not quite as busy when it comes to rental cars in Utah. Again, healthy property management income, and then you can see the bright green bar there, which is that 5% balancing that's going to happen every August. Are there any questions about the fund balance? We have a little work to do to figure out how we're going to prioritize spending that money, but Lisa and Chris and I are talking through all of that, working with Diane and the regions to make sure we're prioritizing how we spend that money going forward.
We can make you meet in Hawaii next time.
I am fairly certain that is not an authorized use of police funds, although I think some of us wish that it were, to do a little research on that. If there aren't any questions, I'll move into the one item that we have today. This is a property owned by an entity called ABF Real Estate down in Vineyard. As many of you know, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm going to see if I can shrink that down just a little bit. You can see this from the earlier presentation. This is a future phase of the Vineyard Connector. It's a little north and west of the project that was discussed earlier. You can see here how it ties into I-15 along that 500 East section here. Farmington city limits hit here. Excuse me, not Farmington. American Fork, I got the S mixed up. American Fork city limits. I've spent a lot of time in Farmington recently, so I apologize. So we're in unincorporated Utah County. The property owner has bid for plat approval of a residential development. Development is parcel is just under 10 acres. It is very close to being approved for residential development. If we don't move forward with this, we would eventually face a very substantial cost to acquire this for the future project. The property appraised for $2,177,600. That's $5 a square foot, or $217,800 per acre. And the advisory council has given a favorable recommendation to approve this request. Our motion today would be to approve the obligation of the Corridor Preservation Fund as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Happy to second. Thank you for that. How do we get notification on the availability of this parcel?
Because of the way the code is written, cities, when they get these types of approvals along our corridors, they send notice to us. It gives Diane an opportunity to get in touch with the landowner. We cannot stop a development. Right, we have a strong property rights code in our state, but we do at least get an alert and have a chance to go attempt to work out a transaction with folks. And we found, most people understand they're taxpayers too. They want to be good stewards. They don't want to get in our way. They obviously want to be treated fairly, and this Corridor Preservation Fund provides a really wonderful opportunity to be able to do that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Item 9A is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, item number 10 is State Infrastructure Bank, and Lyle McMullen is coming to present the case.
Chairman, Commissioner. Normally, I follow something similar along the lines as the Border Preservation
one where I would bring to you a budget to look at and help you understand what's going on. And this is a little bit different today in that the legislature passed a bill this year, which kind of created a bolt-on to the fund, which allows UDOT, or authorizes UDOT to go out with a $30 million bond for the purpose of loaning them out on highway infrastructure, or excuse me, transportation infrastructure projects. And the this $30 million bond potentially can only be paid according to the statute by those who are receiving another in the same bill, a source of fund that only 14 cities receive. And so we reached out to each of those 14 cities to determine if any of them were interested in availing themselves of this potential bond. And we had 3 that returned with expressed interest, and it comes out to about $29.9 million when you add the 3 together. And so we've spent a lot of time getting to the bottom of this, and at this point, there are several projects, one in particular that needs some approval so that they can rely on the sources funding while we move forward through contracting with each of the cities in an eventual bond issuance in spring of this coming year. And so to that end, today I have 3 applications for your review and approval from the following cities: Sandy City, South Jordan City, and Mill Creek City. And so the first one here is Sandy City's loan. It's the amount, it's $15 million for the purpose of aiding the construction of a parking structure to support multi-use Cairns District development in Sandy. It wasn't me, I didn't touch anything. Well done. I realize that we have joint control here. Okay, so the statute, the SIB statute, allows for up to a 15-year term, which all 3 of the loans are anticipated to have. And then the statute also basically copied and pasted from the state infrastructure bank statute that the interest rate would be the interest rate of the bond plus a 0.50 or 50 basis point additive. And so each of the states have sent letters to us, which are included in the packet, expressing their intent to agree to this so that we can move forward. And so the first one that I have for you today is, if you're in agreement, if I'm asking today for a motion to approve a state infrastructure bank loan to Sandy City for $15 million with a term of 15 years and an interest rate equal to the actual bond interest rate plus the 50 basis point additive.
I move for approval.
Motion. Second on the motion too. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 10-A, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were all together. All right. Okay, so the second one is the City of South Jordan also expressed interest, and the amount that they have requested is $9.7 million for the purpose of constructing capital improvement transportation infrastructure projects within the city limits, which is basically roads. And so to that end, all of the same terms apply. And so today I'm asking for your acquiescence to a motion to approve the loan to South Jordan City for $9.7 million with a term of 15 years. Again, an interest rate equal to the bond interest rate plus the 50 basis point added.
Now, all those 3 letters state that the 0.5% would turn back to cities after the loan is paid. Is that part of the statute?
It's just the way that because they basically copied and pasted it, that 50% added, that 50 basis point additive is typically when it's in the run through the capitalization of the state infrastructure bank, helps cover administrative expenses, and also does a tiny bit of capitalizing. In this particular instance, the loan or the bond is being repaid specifically by those entities, and it's not going into the state infrastructure bank. So they'll just basically pay it back a tiny bit early, and then we will rebate it at the end.
Yes.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 10-B is approved.
Okay, and the final one is the city of Mill Creek, and they have requested $5.2 million for the same purpose of constructing 6 capital improvement transportation infrastructure projects within their city limits. And the same motion applies for Mill Creek City.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So I'm guessing as all of these are approved, there's consideration about what projects that UDOT has in place and what the future plans are, and so that it's all integrated into what the planning process is.
Yes, UDOT and the cities and the metropolitan planning organizations all coordinate to make sure that the projects A, are coordinated, and B, don't step on each other's toes.
Okay, thank you. Great question.
I'll make this motion.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10-C is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next steps are now we start negotiating the contract so that we can meet the uniqueness of the situation. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Item number 11 is project prioritization update, and you can see Andrea and Stephanie is coming forward. Who's brave enough to go first?
Morning, Commissioner. Stephanie Tomlin, UDOT Central Planning. I love this. Thank you. Today we'll be talking about prioritization. At the September Commission meeting, UDOT planning staff came and presented nominations and eligibility for 3 out of our 4 Tiff and Ttif funding programs. Quick reminder on what those acronyms are. Ttif is Transportation Investment Fund, and the Tiff is Transportation Investment Fund. We had a fun little field trip yesterday going through that with the strategic plan. So we went through the nominations and eligibility for the Tiff Active, the Ttif Transit, and the Ttif First Last Mile in the September Commission meeting. Eligible projects were then prioritized using the Commission's prioritization models. There's a model for each one of those 3 programs, and that produced a ranked list for each project type. So this agenda item is to present these ranked lists for those 3 project types. These lists are decision-making support tools for the Commission to be used in future programming and funding actions. So I'm just gonna quickly pull up each one of those 3 lists. They can be accessed at the prioritization website, which is linked here. They're also, so I'll just jump over to them. Okay, so the first one will be the Tiff Active list. So we're not going to go through each project, obviously, specifically, but there's 52 projects on this list. The ranking, so what this looks like is you'll have rank, project, score, the TIF request amount. So just a reminder, for this funding, it requires a 40% match. So typically the amount that you're looking at here is 60%. Then the region that that project is in, the nominator, if the project was nominated, and then the location of that project. So again, the projects that are on this list are composed of nominated projects from this round, nominated projects from last round that weren't funded last round, and then remaining projects from our regionally important list that we developed and the commission approved projects from that 35 million in one active transportation funding from the legislature this round. So those are the projects that are on this list. Okay, the next list is the UDOT Ttif first last mile prioritization ranked list. Similar setup here, rank, project, score, Ttif request amount. This one also requires a 40% match from the local organization or jurisdiction. Then the region, the nominator, and the location of the project. So a reminder, the projects that are made up in this list are eligible nominated projects from this round and then eligible nominated projects from last round. The last list is the Ttif transit. So the projects that are made up on this list are any nominated projects, eligible nominated projects from this round. And then input, or it's a phase 1 projects from the UDOT long range plan or the regional transportation plan. So making up the unified plan for the state of Utah. So just something to point out on this list, when it says nominator, you see it will say input list for some of them. That is one of those phase 1 projects from the unified plan. If it has like in this case, Summit County, for example, or UTA, that means that it was a nominated project. So that is the nominator that nominated it. So same setup here, rank, project, score, Ttif, request amount, region, nominator, and location. So that wraps that up. If there's any questions about the ranked lists.
So it's just a comment for the record. So, here in Utah County, there's people that see these, like for example, Mountain approves something, go to the list and it's knowing comes here, and they think, well, that's Apple's a done deal. And I try to get people just because these are on the list. There's the EIS, it could take 2 to 3 years. Like bigger projects, especially, there's the funding issues. And so I just want to say once again, this is here and the elected officials move that forward, but there's still a lot of issues that go into this to the point where once you even do the EIS, I understand that you have to have public input, you have comment, you look at studies and facts and things. So I just want to make that statement because a lot of people don't know that. They think that this is coming, but it's a plan. It's some things that elected officials said they need, but there's still a lot of other issues that go into looking at that now. This is just moving it further down the project list to talk about. So I just wanted to make that comment. A lot of people ask me about that here in Region 3. They say, is that happening, not happening? I say, it's a proposal, but there's still a lot of things that go into looking and deciding. Once all that's decided, where's the money going to come from to do it on up to $1 billion project from Lehigh all the way down to the south part? So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment.
Great point.
And like the song used to say, you got the money, honey, you got the time. They have the cash funds, they can match it, we will do it. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next project.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this doesn't require any action from the commission today. So thank you.
Thanks.
So I may be giving up all control to you, Hi. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Andrea Olson. I'm the planning director at UDOT, and I just want to take a couple minutes to give you an update on the Tiff highway prioritization process and just walk you through a couple of the project lists that we have that ultimately feed into the highway input list. So you can see the highway input list that's shown in the November commission meeting. We'll take a deeper look at that at the November commission meeting, but I want to just quickly remind you of the 3 components that make highway input list. The first one is the top circle there in green. This is the phase 1 projects in the unified plan. So this is any project that UDOT and its planning partners have identified as a phase 1 project. So we've identified potential funding sources for it and have included it in Utah's unified transportation plan. Those projects are automatically included on the prioritization list. The two that I want to take a little bit closer look at today are the phase 1 needs list and the nominated projects. So I'm going to see if I can actually make this link work. Oops, that may have messed it up. I can't. Can you make that link work, Heather? Sorry. I can get to it from the website too. Okay. Okay. It's available. Nope. Perfect. So as you'll remember, the phase 1 needs list is a list of needs that have been identified. And if we had enough money, these would all be planned for the first phase, about the next 10 years of the unified plan. We make some financial assumptions by phase for that unified plan, and sometimes we don't anticipate having enough funds in those phases, and so they're needed in phase 1 that they have to get pushed off to phase 2 and sometimes even phase 3 for these projects. So these are not automatically included in the highway input list, but the commission has the discretion to add any of these projects. They are not on the input list as it stands right now. At this point, UDOT is not making any recommendations to add any of these projects to the input list, but again, that's completely at the commission's discretion. And then, should we try that again, Heather? And then the third piece of the input list is the nominations. Local governments have the opportunity to nominate projects for the commission's consideration to go on the input list. We received 8 nominations during our last, the window for that, and you can see those summarized here. There are 2 of them that are actually already on the phase 1 needs list, so nothing needs to be done with those. Those will be prioritized. They were actually added by amendment in the last couple of years, so those will be on the list. There are 5 here that we believe they're identified as needs in phase 2, 3, and then sometimes actually even beyond that. And then the last one, if you don't mind just scrolling down a little bit, Heather. The last one, there are some things unknown about this project. First of all, the jurisdiction of this potential highway is not completely clear yet, as is the alignment of this road. There's a study going on in the area that will help answer some of those questions. So right now, we just don't feel like we know enough of the details or the variables of this. So as a result of those different elements, we are not recommending that any of these projects be added to the list of the highway input list either. So you got a chance to see that draft highway input list yesterday. There are 80 projects on there. We have, even with the funding decisions you guys have made in the last year or so, it's still quite a robust list of transportation projects. But it's absolutely at the commission's discretion to add any of the projects from the phase 1 needs list or the nominated list. If you choose to do that, it will be by commission action at your November meeting. So we will look at the nomination list in more detail, and the input list, I should say, in more detail in November, finalize that, and then we will have a ranked highway list for you in December. Any questions I can answer?
I just appreciate the time you took with us yesterday so that we don't have a bunch of questions today.
We appreciate the opportunity to do that, actually. Thank you.
For the public information, Ben, Stephanie, and many others worked on this list. for many months, 2 more months even to work on until we get to the point of to say yay or nay. But thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up the good point that the 2 lists that we looked at here are on the commission website under project prioritization. The public can go and look at all of this information there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're coming to the end of our agenda. Number 12 is information items, commission reports, committee reports. Do you have anything to report, please?
I joined Front Transportation yesterday on a conference call. I can just tell you that they're busy prioritizing, working through projects. A lot of work is done there before it gets to us, and they're actively involved in that. I do have one question for Carla or somebody.
And Lisa, right here if you want.
Region, I'm just wondering, we had a couple of stations being built, new shed, new work area. I think Rich County had one. Is that completed or, you know?
It is not completed yet. Lake County Station is not completed yet. They plan to have it done by November, hopefully, so we could use it. We're making contingency plans. It is getting closer, but they're also struggling with material shortages and some labor shortages as well. And so they're a little, that one is not complete yet, but we hope to have it done in November.
I was up there in August. It looked like we were making progress.
We are. They've got most of the walls up. Some buildings don't have the roofs on yet, but it's getting closer.
Just respond to a question. You've heard all the things in the Manland thing I go to. We've pretty much talked about them today. But question on, went to, I was in Commissioner Menlo's area last weekend. We were up there for fall break with some grandkids at our place, and I noticed a lot of the fiber going from Garden City coming up. It made it up to the summit from that side of it, and they were putting the boxes in the ground. Is that part of our joint effort to get like fiber so we can ultimately have better cell tower coverages? Is that part of that, or is that something totally different? I just noticed all those boxes. That's the only thing I can think of, is that was part of some of those projects, but maybe it's a whole different thing.
Rob White, Region Director. That is a project that we had on the books for a while, and it's going up to, it's just going past the maintenance station a little bit. It's not going all the way down the canyon. We're looking for funds to be able to do all the way down the canyon, and then team with a telecom to be able to get self coverage.
So it's part of one of those projects we're doing around the state where we're trying to get the coverage for the canyon.
Yes.
Yes. I thought that's what it was. That's just the first time I seen boxes every so often. And it went all the way up, went past the snow parking area.
Yes.
About where you got to.
That's about it. It's right in there where it is.
Okay, good to see progress on that. Thanks.
Thanks. Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can make a comment on that, Commissioner, that getting that through the canyon would be just an excellent thing to have happen. We've had an increasing number of serious accidents there. I haven't seen the data over time, Rob, but it seems just anecdotally that we're seeing more accidents and more challenges in the canyon. And I think it's due to increased use of the canyon. Amazing how many people are in that canyon, and I'm sure you see it when you drive it.
It's the 2 things I get, even though I don't live up there, I get calls on the canyon. It's the cell coverage and it's the guardrails and strategic places to keep people out of the river. They're on smart, slow enough to stay out of the river. Those the cable and guard people. I would put some, but I still get questions about it all the time.
We can put it in a gondola.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are people in the community talking about it would be nice to have reduced numbers of people coming up the canyon. Then there are others in the community who like that. So it's but there is increased use. I don't know in counts. I should probably get some data on that so I can speak more intelligently.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can find that out.
Yeah, that probably would be good for me to be able to talk about that, and maybe some data over time. The increased use. Thank you.
Any committee report from you, Natalie?
No, I'm good.
Donna? And I had the opportunity to attend our funding trimester for the CIB. We had many water, sewer, and the transportation projects we funded last month. Also been involved in the Washington County Commission dialogue for SR 18 a few times with Rick Torgerson and Region 4. And we're trying to do some kind of improvements on SR 18. As you may know, they're getting, that particular place is getting used for Huntsman's World Seniors Game, St. George Marathon, and also lately Ironman Worldwide. Is that what it was, Rick? So we need to try to get some stuff. Of course, they have some money they would like to use, but then we have to be careful what kind of color we need to use for purposes to work with the UDOT, and so the UDOT and Region 4 working together in harmony to try to make sure that they are needed. There's going to be some improvements coming from the Region 4 budget for SR 18 between Central and Vail. In the same time, we're trying to make some improvements at the SR 18. So, Rick, do you have any updates since Wednesday with the commissioners?
No, we're planning on that.
Okay. So that's my committee report. Next item on the agenda is the meeting of the Moab, which is November 18 and 19 for the commission. So mark your calendars for that day. And of course, we have received the update or proposed calendar for the next year, commissioners. I'm sure you've seen it. So would you please make time, and not today, but review it to see if you are happy with those dates and the times and the places?
I'm happy with June.
Oh, good. So
We haven't had a meeting in Cedar City since I've been on the commission. So I'm happy.
And Mr. Chairman, we would at least, if we could look at March at least, because it's so tough to schedule and get a reservation. So if the commissioners are going to give us the nod on March.
yeah, because we need to make sure that place gets booked up quickly. It is. So if you don't mind, just actually the first 3 months of January, February, which you can just tell the UDOT complex, no problem there. Draper should be no problem. But for the March, if you approve right now today, we can just go ahead and make sure that it is
Start working. So you can start working on the planning.
You okay with the March location? And we were supposed to be there last year, but unfortunately because of pandemic, we couldn't make it. So this is kind of like trying to make it up.
Oh, yeah. So you can have vacation.
But the rest of the calendar, it is not written in stone, so you can make your suggestions if you have someplace else that we need to do. But just remember that accommodation is important. The location of the towns, they can accommodate us with this kind of facilities. That is important for the meeting places. So,
and Mr. Chairman,
yes,
the other commissioner. So what we look at is after really the last 5-7 years, where we've been and where the issues are, and so we try to spread it out. So the recommendations are based on looking and trying to spread it out into our geography.
That looks good. Geographical representation is good.
no, just a nod. So if you're okay, everybody will get the March at least. Heather, we're okay. Proceed, please. So, any other information? Carlos, you want to share with us anything, any updates?
No. Appreciate the commissioner's time yesterday and today.
Great, Lisa? Any of the region directors? If not, safe Halloween, enjoy it, have trick or treat, and make sure you know that we love you, every one of you guys, on behalf of the commission, our families, all those that we're traveling, our communities, you are number one and number one. Thank you for all you do. Always remember that you are loved and cared for from our prayers from our side. I would like to take the motion, the last item to adjourn. Okay, so it's not debatable. Thank you.